Well, hello. Welcome back. Good to hang out with you again as I wrestle through what it looks like, what it means to move through this progression. I think Scripture outlines for us as godly Christian men, where we move from being a father in our home and managing and governing there well, to then doing that and fathering our city well, to then ruling in a kingdom based on Luke 19 and a lot of other passages. And so today I want to talk about this conversation I had with an elderly gentleman recently. I had the opportunity to take a shot, my first swing at at presenting this publicly. I was at a men's breakfast and I had about 20-ish minutes to do so. And so I present it, and afterwards I'm talking with an elderly gentleman. And he says, he's like, Tim, I used to be a leader in my career and in my home, but now that I'm retired and my kids are grown up, all I do is sit at home and care for the dog. And tears are coming to his eyes as he's saying this, like he wanted something bigger. He had a bigger vision, but he was like, I'm reading into it now, but I have this feeling like I'm stuck. Like I have all this in me, and now I sit at home and take care of the dog. And I'm like, well, are your kids around, grandkids? And thankfully, all of his family is within drivable distance, and he has a grandkid in town. And I was like, well, what about that? And he's like, well, the grandkids and daycare and things. And so as I'm just listening to this guy, I felt like his heart. It was just like, this is a tragedy. And what I was thinking is like, dude, you spent your whole life acquiring wisdom. You have a city of families that desperately need this wisdom and these skills from you. And they don't even know that they need it. They're not even asking for it because they don't know that they need it. And you have grandkids who could use your attention much more than some random daycare employee, you know? Now, I know there are dynamics in different families where that might not be possible. There's health issues where that might not make it possible. So I'm not looking down on anyone or judging anyone. But I think he and I think we both kind of felt like this is less than ideal, that this is kind of what happens. I think in society we have this, the progression is father in the home to successful businessmen or women, I guess, obviously. And then what's that? Retirement and years of withdrawal. You know, I don't know. Like, feels like you've acquired all this wisdom, all these experiences. And I think what this guy was saying and what I'm feeling is like, there should be a deeper sense of meaning and purpose and fulfillment. And what stood out to me is like, I think there's a lack of a vision for what this looks like in our elder years, like eldering our city. What does that even look like practically? And I think we're up against some societal norms. We are like, our cities don't have city gates anymore. We have elders, but only in the church office sense. And that's not really the sense of which I'm talking about eldership here, actually. I think there is a place, obviously, in Scripture where men select you, they lay their hands on you, and they commission you for an intentional, a specific role of being an elder. But I also think that the general description of elders and the types of qualifications that make someone qualified to be an elder are something that all of us as men can and should aspire to as Christian men. So I want to talk about out loud with you guys a couple different visions here. A vision for what this looks like practically. And I'd love for you, as always, I'm holding it to an open hand. Please push back on me. Please show me where you disagree. Please point out other scriptures to me. Like, please, I'm wrestling through this out loud, and I would love any pushback or wrestling. In fact, I'd set up a link. I'd put myself on the spot now, if I can remember. It's speakpipe.com/Tim Schmoyer, and you can just record an audio message there if you'd like, and give me any questions or encouraging stories or your own personal antidotes or what the Lord is speaking to you or other passages, I don't know, whatever. Just like I love to wrestle back and forth, quote unquote, in an episode with you guys. So feel free to use that. I'll put those, well, I should be putting a link in the show notes, but I keep forgetting. But it's speakpipe.com/Tim Schmoyer. And so, okay, modern vision. Here's what we got. Here's what we see today. It's a tragedy. Is this man reaches his retirement and he's got something finally to give. He's got decades of experiences navigating things, figuring things out, solving problems, and he can see patterns. He can see like, hey, like maybe no one's ever been in this situation before, but I think based on this, that, and the other thing, that here's the outcome you're going to get. And there's so many men in positions of leadership and authority who need people like that in their corner, helping them. And so what I heard from this guy at this men's breakfast is like, hey, I become a leader in my career and in my home in like the past sense. And now I've graduated from that, like college, or my kids have braces or something, right? Like I've graduated from college and braces. And it's like, I'm done with that wisdom now. Like, I don't need it. What do I do with it now? And what's actually happening is now that like grandkids are forming their idea of what life looks like, marriage looks like, faith looks like, what a city, family, all these things are supposed to look like without 40 years of pattern recognition. And we have this idea that retirement is just a time of like, finally, I get to rest. I get to kick my feet up. I get to take care of my dog in my house and watch TV and learn the buttons on the remote better, I guess. You know, I'm being a little facetious, but I think you get the idea. So the biblical idea of these elder years, I don't think anything like that. And in fact, the Bible says nothing about retirement that I'm aware of. Please, again, push back. But the reason where I got this idea was from Rabbi Daniel Lapin in his book, Thou Shalt Prosper. And he said that the Jewish community, very good book, by the way, highly recommend that you read it. Without getting on a tangent here. What he says in that, and one of the things that stood out to me is like in Jewish beliefs, if the Bible doesn't have a word for it, then it's a man-made construct, and it doesn't actually exist in God's economy, in God's world. And he said there's no word for retirement in Hebrew. And he said, in fact, that idea in Jewish communities, there isn't like this idea of like a retirement where, I've reached a certain age and now I can enjoy life, relax, and no longer focus on creating and delivering value to people. He used the example of a golf swing and said that when the golf club, the point of the golf club is to make contact with the ball. But that doesn't mean that you slow down and coast into hitting the ball. It means when the club has struck the ball, it's met the goal, but you follow through, and that club goes all the way through. Now, I'm not a golfer. I don't really get it. I mean, I get it, but yeah, it's a little slow for me. So I'm not experiencing it personally, but the analogy helped me make sense of like, this idea of retirement is not necessarily a biblical idea that we have. Now, I'm also not saying it's a bad idea or it's sinful or wrong. I'm saving for retirement, but my saving for retirement actually is I have goals in mind for what I want retirement to look like, and I plan on self-funding that work. In other words, I personally don't have a vision where I'm going to kick back, relax, put my feet up and travel and let my kids struggle while they have their own kids and are, sleeping through the night. And in fact, I've had this vision for many years, for a long time. I don't know, decade, maybe a little less than a decade, something like that. And so I have this, that's part of the goals for my business was like, I want to start a business where I could have enough financial resources so that if our kids moved away, we could fly to wherever they were at. We could afford to live in that area and support them during intense seasons of their lives or marriages or having small kids or whatever the case may be, sickness, I don't know. But then something struck me I don't know at this point, like 5-6 years ago. It's probably like 6 years. And it was like, oh, it doesn't matter if I have all the financial resources in the world if I'm too sick or I'm too tired to take care of my family and to lead well in my elder years. And so that then it led to a process of trying to get healthy physically and emotionally. Started seeing a therapist around that time. It wasn't just as a due to this vision. There's a lot of other things going on in my life then too. But that's one of the added benefits of it, though. It was getting healthy on a relational place with my marriage and with a lot of things around me and my kids and stuff, and then also working on my physical health and financial stability, so that I'm preparing in like all these ways, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and my physical health. So when I get to this year of this season of eldership, that I have the resources that I need in order to live into it and live into it well. And so I don't think that the Bible speaks about retirement as a hey, now you're just coasting to death and that's it. I keep talking about this Proverbs 31:23 husband, because I read it almost every Shabbat, every Sabbath to my wife when I bless her with Proverbs 31. It says, her husband is known at the city or in the gates. I'm reading it right now. Her husband is known in the gates where he sits among the elders of the land. What I see being described here is this guy who's led his family well. His children are fruitful. His family is fruitful. And we see that a lot of that, glimpses of that through his wife and through as a thank you to her, and what they've also undoubtedly have done together. And he's sitting at a place of honor, a place where guys are governing well in the city gates. Like that's where these older gentlemen go. Or look at Titus 1, where Paul describes elder qualifications, and he says to appoint elders in each of those cities, each of your cities. Now that's a different topic for another time. Again, I'm talking about it in the broader sense of the word here, where elders are let's talk about aspiring to be this, not that we necessarily become appointed to it, but in the first Timothy 3:1 verse where Paul says, if you aspire to being an elder, you aspire to a noble task. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking of. And so all of this type of vision makes sense to me. We're having a vision of what does our elder years look like as maybe the most important years for investing into not only our kids, but also into their kids, into having a multi-generational vision for our lives and how we set up our life now and prepare for that essential, not for the essential season of life, not like a season of life that's easily discarded. Or we just kind of do the most we can to be the least burden possible to our kids, and so that's the vision. But I think we have a challenge, and that is we don't have city gates anymore. So where's this guy who has this vision? Where's he going to go? There's nothing in our society or culture today that's like, oh, if you are a man aspiring towards this is what you do, and this is what it looks like. And so I'm going to spell out some of that here briefly, but I say this with all humility, hopefully, and then summarize it in saying, I think it's going to require some men who have this type of vision to take the initiative that it's going to require to step up and play this role that no one's looking for. And then when people see this role, then I think they'll be like a breath of fresh air for someone who's doing it well. Oh, where has this role been? We need this in our life. Thank you so much. Actually, I sent a text message to a guy just earlier today. I'll get it up when I talk here and maybe read it to you. It's a guy who was an elderly gentleman, and I don't think he was doing this on purpose, but it still had its impact on my son. We had a dog that was very rambunctious and mostly obedient, but had a couple wasn't good around kids. And so he was great for herding and dog and farm life, which is why we bought him as a livestock guardian dog and to help herd our sheep and things like that. And he was great for that. But we took him to a trainer, to this other guy. almost every week for about 3 years to work on this stuff with him. And that season of life is now past, but I saw him yesterday and I didn't get a chance to say this to him. So I texted him and said, "It was good to see you again. Thanks for all the years you faithfully poured into us and to our dog. You ultimately were not training a dog to be disciplined, but training a boy, my son, to understand responsibility and patience. Thank you for your investment." And so here's a guy that I don't think he was intentionally doing that, but he did it. And so my vision for these elder years look like is we have that as an intentional vision. And we're taking the skills that, like this guy had the skills of dog training and poured it into our dog, but more importantly, trained my son responsibility and discipline and patience, and basically on a smaller scale, how to father a dog, right? How to lead this dog. Guys, and again, I'm only 45 years old. I'm like, I'm not in this season of life yet, but I have thought about this season and to the point where I am intentionally trying to craft family rhythms and values around this so that when it comes, my kids are set up for this. I'm set up for this because I think our adult children, like in that season, they're going to need us. They're going to not need us for the same ways they did before, but they still need us to show them what it looks like to love our wives after 50 years of marriage. I think they need that example. They need to see what patience and diligence still looks like, what wisdom still looks like in difficult situations. And our grandkids, like they need us and their parents to teach them how to use tools, how to think through problems, right now, thinking about my kids are learning how to handle money. And my son's, man, he's doing well. I taught him how the stock market works a couple of years ago. He has a brokerage account and he's doing well, and he's 15 years old and has enough money for a car already. So that's awesome. He can't drive one yet, but doesn't have his permit yet. But anyway, like I think our kids and our grandkids will still need us. And whether or not they think that or not might be a different question, but I want to be prepared to give whatever they're willing to receive and find other families, maybe, including my own families, because I think I'll have time on my hands. I don't know that my kids and grandkids will take up 100% of my time. I don't know. It's a big IDK on a lot of this stuff. But what I'm envisioning is finding other families who are also fruitful soil, and how do I sow into them? Like I'm not throwing pearls before swine. I'm not wasting this stuff, but I'm like, oh, here's a family who's fruitful soil. Like they're good soil, healthy soil. Like let's sow there and invest my time into there. So because I think the next generations, if we think my generation, like we were formed, but the question wasn't like, how are we going to be formed? The question is who is going to form us. And I want to have a vision and a structure that says like, here's how we form the next generation. I think I think that made us a vision for what it means to like elder our father, our families in the eldering season. But in a city's context, I don't think the city knows that they even need this or want this yet. I do another post in my head that I'll get at another time about what we're missing. Like what is the impact in society been by not having these eldering, there we go, type of figures in our communities and in our homes and in our cities. There's so many families that are trying to figure out, am I going to give up on this marriage or am I going to stick to it? Am I going to pay off this debt or am I going to take out another credit card? Like there's so many families that need wisdom from a generation that's been before and has something to give, something to help, especially in a season where these people, including myself, I think forward to that time, like hopefully aren't as busy anymore because I am now self-funding my ministry to my kids and my grandkids, as well as to the families and the men in the community around me. I hope that's what a lot of my time goes to. And I think this blog and this podcast is part of me starting to wrestle through, okay, the time's not as far away as I think it is. My oldest daughter is 16. She could be married and have kids in 5 years. I guess that'd be 21. Yeah. So technically, yeah. I mean, she could be married in a few years, even shorter than that, I suppose. I'm not rushing it. Or it could be 10 years or 15. I don't know. I don't know their timeline, whatever the Lord has for them. But this isn't the kind of thing like, oh, it's here, let me figure this out now. I kind of feel like it's something I need to prepare for and cast vision for in my own home with my kids now, so that when that time comes, they've kind of grown up thinking about this as well. And all right, what role will my parents play? What do I want them to play? And of course, they'll have spouses at that point, which is an unknown now, who those people are going to be and what they'll want and desire as well. So there's a lot to take into consideration here, but from a high level, big picture, it's like we want to serve with humility. We want to give what we can in order to pass faith to the next generation and to support them and have a strong multi-generational family legacy that comes after us. I think that's what elders do. Elders don't just look at the picture in front of them. They think long term. They look at the road. They look down the road and they say, what are we going to need then that we need to start acquiring now? In order for us to govern then well, what do we need now? And I think that's the type of thinking that shapes families and shapes cities. When men with foresight step up and take leadership and start pursuing the types of things that we'll need, and even making sacrifices for things now in order to fulfill a vision that comes to fruition later in the future. And so this is the type of work that, to me, it brings meaning, it brings purpose, it brings like a vision for what I'm doing now, as well as what I'll be doing later. And I know this is complicated. I know we have different family dynamics and things. Like I've said, what I'm not saying is like I want to be a workaholic in my 70s and wear myself out real fast and burn and die early. Like, I'm not trying to do that. I know I have to take care of myself and my finances and my body physically and emotionally and mentally and all these things. And I also needed to develop the skills now. Like, for example, the reason I teach at like the men's breakfasts and sometimes teach at our church on Sunday mornings and things isn't because I'm particularly good at it, and it's not because I particularly enjoy it. It actually really, really drains me. It takes me like a week or two to recover after teaching 2 services on a Sunday morning. My batteries get zapped, completely zapped, and it's a lot. It's a lot for me, but I do it because one of the qualifications of an elder is to be able to teach. And I think that teaching there means more than just standing on a stage and being able to present in front of a crowd of people. I think it could mean like kneeling next to my grandson and teaching him how to walk, or holding the back of my granddaughter's bike or my daughter's bike and teaching them how to ride, right? Or it could be a lot of different things. So I don't think it's just teaching in the sense of like stage presentation, but I think it could include that. And so that's why I'm motivated, I think, to learn how to teach. I think of it maybe as if you're familiar with like role-playing games, like video games, where as you play the game, you develop different skills and traits. And as you develop expertise not expertise, that's not the right word. As you develop, you get better at that skill, you develop XP, experience. And the more experience you gain, you complete a certain mission or a task, and then boom, like XP pops up above your head. And when you hit certain milestones, you get to spend that XP on ranking up in different skills or different character traits or something like that. And that's kind of how I think of maybe this in real life, is like, hey, I feel like I need to level up in this teaching qualification. So I put together my notes and I send it over to our pastor for feedback. I send it over to another guy I know for feedback, and I run it through AI for feedback. And I get like from multiple different sources. I take feedback from the people way more than the AI, but sometimes the AI is good at a high level pass. And And so I'm trying to hone that skill by having those types of people help me and mentor me and train me in that skill, because it's part of a requirement for being qualifications for being an elder. And so I'm thinking about this now. I think about that man at the breakfast. Man, he was just describing a tragedy. And I don't want it to just be like the idea for me of a normal retirement just being about years spent in front of a TV and taking care of a dog. I think that both of us, we didn't say it, but I think we both felt like something here is broken. And today is expected for retirement people in their retirement to enjoy life and to finally relax. And there's something to that. Like, please hear me. I'm not like saying it's about workaholism or trying to find other people to make us feel needed or wanted or anything. I think it's about like, I have something here that I've been entrusted with by the King, and he expects me to manage it and steward it well, because one day he's going to return and he's going to say, what did you do with it? And I'm going to say, here, you gave me 3, I turned it into 10. And he's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant. Here, now you're qualified to rule in my kingdom and in the age to come. And and so I think I don't have just monetary things. I think every experience I'm working through, every challenge I'm working through, every difficult situation I'm trying to overcome, and I'm seeking wisdom myself. These are skills I'm developing so I can help my kids, my grandkids, and other people's families in the next season of life with, I learned, I've been there. Here's what I learned, and passing that along so that I can tell the master and show him, like, you gave me 3 and now it was turned into 10. So that was the whole point. That's why he created us in the first place. Be fruitful and multiply, rule and reign, fill and subdue the earth, right? So we're looking forward to ruling and reigning again, just as he originally intended. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on the multiplying and being fruitful and ruling in the fathering sense of the word, which is maybe not. I think when we think of ruling, we think of like an iron rod or a king in My Way or the Highway, but that's not really how I think the Bible talks about it. If we just look at how Jesus and God rules, it's not an authoritarian, type of thing. It's a servanthood. It's a humility type of leadership, and that's what I think of when I say a rule. So, fathering our home like that, so we can one day father our city like that, so that one day we become qualified through the multiplication of that fruit through our governance here, we can become qualified to rule in his kingdom with them. So anyway, this vision, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take some guys like us taking the initiative, stepping up, and creating the role. And I know I fully expect that to get a lot of pushback. There's so much in our world today about anti-patriarchy and anti-masculinity and all that. And I know this could get thrown in that camp. I don't want it to. I think most of all that pushback is due to men who misunderstood this, and they viewed it as dominance. They viewed it as not taking care of orphans and widows and children and homeless, but squashing them for their own benefit. And I am 100% against that too. That is not what I'm talking about. But I expect that there will be resistance for people who don't have any other category for this type of eldership other than that. So how we navigate that, I don't know. I'll figure that part out later. But that's what I got today. Kind of a vision for what I'm thinking of the elder years. And again, would love to hear from you guys. The full thoughts on this, after now I've verbally processed them, will be at read.timschmoyer.com, my Substack, just at Tim Schmoyer there. So you can get the fleshed out thoughts if you want to skip the audio and go straight to the the better articulated version of it. So thanks for wrestling through this with me, guys. And give me anything you got at speakpipe.com/Tim Schmoyer. And looking forward to hearing from you and talking to you then. Thanks.